The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome everybody right here to the Paranormal View on the Paranormal Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. Those in the chat room and those listening from around the world. We appreciate each and every one of you. We want to take a second to thank everybody and hope that everyone is staying safe from the coronavirus. I know that people's having to stay at home pretty much, and it's a good way just to come and spend it with us for a few hours, and we got great guests lined up. So sit tight, and we'll be on talking in just a few seconds. I want to let everybody know that we have with us Barbara Duncan.
I'm here. And Jeff is waiting in the wings.
Oh, is he? Well,
yes, he is.
I'll get Jeff on here. And
yeah, and I can do my civic duty by reminding everybody to wash their hands. Before you touch your face, wash your hands. Lots of times.
All right, here. Jeff is waiting in the wings, but I don't see him on a...
He says he's visible. I can see him.
Yeah. Hold on here.
So,
I tried to click him, and it didn't click, so let me try it again.
Yay! Live radio. We are, in pretty much lockdown mode in California, so not a lot we can do other than stay home and listen to the Paradox Radio Network.
Well, that's about the same thing what we've been doing also, except we can run to the store and different things like that. Knock on wood, but there hasn't been anybody from our county that has got that. So, Jeff, you with us? Hello, Jeff. Well, it shows that he's on.
I don't know.
No, it doesn't either. It says 3 of 4 in the call.
Oh.
So I don't know what happened. If you can send him a message, just do that.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Trying to see if I can add him.
Oh, can you? We'll do that then. Because I didn't even see him showing up on mine. Okay.
Oh, I don't think that'll work.
It's not going to work either? Okay. All right. We'll work on that. In the meantime, Barbara, you want to go ahead and introduce our guest for tonight?
I guess I'm going to have to, because Jeff is, I have no idea what the heck's going on there. Well, our guest tonight is a returning guest, as a matter of fact. He is a lifelong resident of Williams County, Ohio, where the historic home he shares with his wife, Diane, is located. A 1976 graduate of Schuyler High School. He earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism from the University of Toledo in 1980. He has several books out, and I did not know that you were a journalist, sir. This is kind of good. He got his start in journalism as a sports writer and a photographer at a weekly newspaper known as the Village Reporter. He has written several books. I met a ghost at Gettysburg. I met more ghosts at Gettysburg. and coming out with a third book shortly, I believe. Welcome, welcome, Don Allison.
Well, thank you.
And that's all I can see on the screen from my Kindle. I know you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I've been kind of put a bit on hold with the coronavirus, but trying to get done what I can get done.
But you know what? In times like this, it's great to have books. There's not a lot you can do out there, and you can download them on Kindle if you have a Kindle, and you can start reading up on a lot of this stuff. So books in times of quarantine are essential, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and I really appreciate the chance to have some conversation tonight. We've been stuck at home for a while now, so.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about you, but ours started on the 16th, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't know about anybody else, but yeah. We were told to stay at home.
Oh, you was working. You was
I do
essential.
work, yeah.
You still do. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe we now have Geoffrey on with us. Jeff?
Yeah, Brian.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
Just cutting.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. I don't know if it's your computer or sound or what it is. Could be your connection, though. So.
Probably everything.
Yeah. All right. Don, I know, of course, I've been seeing you now for, what, about 3 or 4 years, something like that?
Yeah.
And the first time that I met you, we was at the David Stewart farm. And you had a booth and I had a booth. And I was walking around seeing different people and I come across you and you had a book. And I bought your book and went home, read it, and invited you to be on the show.
Yes, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but you're right. It has been several years now.
2016.
Yeah, because you've been coming to Gettysburg every time we was going to Gettysburg. So I guess I know when I started reading your first book, it struck me, I mean, you was writing about your house that you bought in Bryan. And when after you bought it, you found out that it was kind of, you might say, you had some people living there with you.
Yeah, some of the former occupants, it seems, had not left, and that was my first experience with anything like that, and it really played some havoc with my view of the world.
When things started happening, did you believe in spirits before you bought that house?
Well, I've always been a rather spiritual person, knowing that there's quite a lot in the universe, but to think that spirits would interact with us or that you would hear them, communicate with them, no, I just didn't think that was possible. I pretty much just chalked up any paranormal reports as people had overactive imaginations.
So I'm curious, as a journalist and as a writer, how you approached the situation in your own home, at least. Most people, a scientist may investigate scientifically. How did you go about, or did you go about trying to assess your own situation?
My first reaction was just to pretend it didn't happen. And then I started talking. My wife, fortunately, experienced things in the house. Some of the people we had working here experienced it. I talked to friends and coworkers, but I was very adamant. I am not writing about this. I thought people would think I was crazy. But I really owe a lot of thanks to my wife. She was the main person that convinced me to write about it. My former coworkers at the newspaper also played a role.
Now, after you,
Well, I'm curious, were they accepting of all this?
Yeah, surprisingly so. Of course, with Diane, my wife, she experienced it. There was no doubt in her mind, but the people I work with, I've always tried to be a straight shooter, being a journalist at a daily paper and, a small community. Your I guess, truthfulness, your believability it plays a key role in being able to do that job. So people, for the most part, said even if we don't believe ourselves in the paranormal, we believe you're having these experiences.
so when these things started happening, what did your wife think about it?
Luckily, neither one of us were frightened. We just thought, what in the world? It's rather interesting because there was a gentleman who had rented the house for like 24 years, and he finally moved out when the furnace quit running and the well went out. It was in pretty rough shape. And he saw us outside one day, stopped by, and he comes up to us and he says, do you guys know this house is haunted? And Diane and I kind of looked at each other and rolled our eyes. We really hadn't done much. We had just taken possession of the property. He proceeded to tell us some things that he had experienced, and I had to bite my tongue because my first reaction was to say, well, gee, that explains the half-empty booze bottles we're finding stashed here and there around the house.
So you may say the ghosts were using the spirits.
Yes, the spirited ghosts for sure. But some of the things that he described happened to us to a T. So that got my attention.
Was she afraid of the spirits then, or took it with a grain of salt?
No, Diane, we both have been just curious more than anything. And, a lot of times we would hear, and what we now understand are residuals, we would hear footsteps, different places, but there are also intelligent hauntings, and that is the part that really got my interest.
Now,
So did it start off as just hearing footsteps, and did it escalate from there, or what?
Yeah, and it seems, and still today, we don't have the house completely done. When we are doing work, renovation work, restoration work stirs up the activity. But I mean, there were times that almost every time I would come out to work on the house, we didn't live in it for a number of years till we got it in livable shape. But yeah, footsteps, mainly if I was downstairs, I would hear them upstairs, running the length of the house, and then a door would slam, sounded like a barefoot child. Other times we would hear male footsteps, and it just seemed that it was always at least a room over, or I would hear it upstairs if I was downstairs, and vice versa. We would hear sometimes conversations, disembodied, hard to understand, but very clearly conversations going on. Rapping, we'd hear a door open and close, that sort of thing.
Now, was the house always just a normal house, farmhouse, etc.?
Well, it's got quite a history to it. The original part of the house was built in 1835 by a War of 1812 veteran. He founded a small town nearby, and it has quite a history. It was an underground railroad station for a time, and there were 4 Civil War soldiers who grew up here. 2 of them did not make it back home. We've been able to pretty much research at least the owners and most of the residents of the house through the years.